It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin the final week of August. We have our final week of August graphics on the screen for those in our television audience. Gary.
Now somebody's going to, where's you guys on television? We're not.
We're not.
Hey, I got rain.
Okay.
I got a significant amount of rain for like 20 minutes. It rained like a monsoon.
Like heavy rain.
Like really heavy rain. Like I don't have to. I keep saying like and like and like.
You know, it was like
I'm in the 50s.
I kind of feel like it was raining. Everybody says that now. I feel like it was raining.
It was like raining, like, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so NBC5, one of the NBC affiliate here, Rick Mitchell, very qualified meteorologist. I think he's their chief meteorologist, and he posted the rain. And I don't know if you can see it here, but it's, that's the torrential rain I'm showing Gary, his Twitter post, and it's a video outside his home.
It woke me up.
It's rain.
The rain woke me up. There was no thunder.
Yeah.
It was the rain woke me up, and I had, they had said it was going to happen in my area, and it wasn't a huge area that it was in.
Yeah.
But
you got it.
We got it, and we went to stage 2, our town.
Yeah, the watering stage. You told me the other day.
Which we can only water once a week. And I was like, oh, man, I found it out Thursday, so Friday I could water. And I'm like, okay, at least it's going to go down into the, well, I think yesterday it reached 100 maybe, 99 or 100. That was it.
I was driving around. By the way, I was driving around. I could see that rain in the distance. You could see the rain shafts in the distance. It was clear that it was raining somewhere, and I thought, well, good for them.
So like I said, it was going to be, not as hot this week. I'm like, okay, maybe my lawn can last a week, but getting the rain Sunday means I've only got to wait 5 days. That's a piece of cake. We're done. 90s, it's all done.
No, you had
my lawn will survive.
In 15 or 20 minutes of that kind of rain, oh, man. And the rain always waters the lawn much better. It is just absolutely amazing to watch it after a good rain, how your lawn will green up.
Well, I've been doing, the last month I've been having problems with my condensation line.
Oh, yeah.
Of my air conditioning.
Yeah.
And so the emergency line works great, but there's so many. If you ever seen a condensation line, if you live in Texas or anybody else or any place else where you've got your AC unit and furnace in the attic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, that if your line doesn't work, your condensation line, and then your emergency line doesn't work, the pan you have underneath it, then the emergency line, well, then it's all coming down through the ceiling.
It's going to come through your ceiling, yeah.
And
if your evaporator coils are in the ceiling, in the attic, and
that's where they are. So I was like a month ago. I had problems. You throw the stuff down, whatever. I forgot whether it was I either used the bleach or a combination. Use bleach one time and then the vinegar with warm water on another time to clear the clog, and it did. 2 weeks later, it came back.
I heard whiskey works.
2 weeks later, it comes back. So I do it again, and it's fine. 3 weeks later, it comes back. Now it won't go away. They came out over a week ago, blew it out. It was fine. Started again.
Right.
So they're coming out tomorrow. But I did the interesting thing is, I live in basically a 2,400 square foot home is what I live in.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed that the maximum, even when it got a little humid over the last week, 5 gallons a day.
Interesting. So you were able to measure it.
Well, what happened was I put it's dripping outside, and I don't want it all because our houses are close together, and I don't want it to form puddles. So I actually put a bucket in, and so I'm taking that condensation water and I was
watering the.
I was putting it on the brown spots of the lawn.
There you go,
and it's worked.
Yeah,
it's like what? It's like
well, you know what? Use it.
I'm like, oh, okay, I took a negative and made it a positive, and it was funny because they're out tomorrow, and it's going to be, if they can't blow it out, it's like, oh no, it's going to be more expensive.
Oh, rebuilding a condensation line. I've done that myself. I actually, in my house, on one side, I have two central AC units, and on the one side, it actually was fortunate that it was not the other one. It's not the one in the attic. This one is in a closet, and then it goes between, the condensation line goes between a wall to outside. It's not that long. It's probably about 15, 18 feet of line, but I had to rebuild the entire thing. We had a project in the house, and they were doing some drywall, and I forgot to cover my intake vents. So all that powder, guess what happens when it gets wet again in the condensation line? Yeah. Solid rock almost, but
yes,
I've done that before. But when you have to, in the attic, it goes all over the place in order to get outside.
I know.
It's going to be a little bit of a task. Yeah.
Well, what I wonder is, why didn't they just, for both lines, why don't they just take it, and because you have so many 90-degree turns in the pipe. That's what causes the problem, because things can settle in that 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when I told my dad, he goes, they should be doing 45 degrees. 45 degrees a little bit than 45 degrees, but you put those 90-degree elbows in there, and you're always going to get condensation slush.
And it also makes it harder if you're running an auger down a line. I don't know if that's what they're doing here, but it's just almost impossible to get around those turns.
It really is. And so the other line, the emergency line, though, goes straight. It's a straight line right, to the, because they want you to notice it in the emergency line. So emergency condensation line comes out right underneath the gutters.
Yeah.
So you go by Rounder Hills, you see it dripping, you're like, oh, I got a problem. Well, I'm like, well, why don't they just do that to the other line, just have that, and then take a pipe and go straight down into the ground to drain it?
Right. Yeah.
Why do they have to do all the elbows and everything else? And just another complaint. And I'll take it out on the technician tomorrow. I'm kidding. But they're coming. They said it's got to be 8 to 10. They're doing all their appointments. This is a major AC place. All their appointments are in the morning. And I told them last week. I said, but look at the forecast.
If it's in the attic, they schedule that in the morning.
But I said, what are you talking about? It's going to be we got a winter cold front coming in. They go, what? I go, it's going to be 99 or 97 or 96. I think it is now today.
Yeah.
And they all laugh. They go, we didn't know it was going to be that cold.
So do you know what they do if they have to get? I don't know if all of them do this, but I've had this experience a few times. If they have to get in the attic and work on an emergency, one time it was actually an electrician, but the other two times they were AC technicians, and they pull one of your air ducts, and they put it on themselves, close to themselves, so they can have cold air blowing on them if it's still working. If the AC is working and they're working on something else, they'll pull that air duct and put it basically pointed to themselves, so they'll be able to work in there.
My ventilation is so good that if you get in there at 8 o'clock, it's cool.
Yeah,
up in my attic, it's not even hot.
Mine too. Yeah,
it's amazing how quickly the ventilation. Just the natural ventilation in my place. I was very surprised because I've been in a lot the last couple of weeks. But I've done everything. I actually have taken the wet vac and connected it to the access hose on the outside, or the access pipe. It won't clear it. It just won't clear it. And I did with my, but you got to make sure the emergency line is working. I've blown that out a couple times. I got the CO2 cartridges thing that you can hook up right. You seal it right to the end of that line.
Yeah.
I've blown that out, too, even though I know it's fine, just because you don't want to take a chance. You absolutely, positively have to have that second condensation line, the emergency line. That must work.
Oh, no, that one has to work.
That one has to work. But, it's funny how it just sits in the back of your mind going, better work. Yeah,
because I've actually had that happen twice to me, where the water comes through the ceiling, and it's never pleasant. So yeah, and by the way, the aforementioned whiskey, that's actually for your lines, not the plumbing lines, because You do a couple of shots, you'll forget about your plumbing.
Yeah, it'll clear
worries.
my liners right out.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, hopefully they get it cleared up just in time for fall.
Yeah.
Isn't it always? It's like my AC a few times has had issues in like October, and they're like, "Are you going to be using it much?" And it's like, guys, it's Texas. You know this. Of course I am. Yes. But yeah.
No, but that's the thing about AC. You live in Texas. Your air conditioning can be on in November. It's funny because there's the rare days where, I shut it off and just have the heater on and all of a sudden it gets to be January and you're like, man, it's really uncomfortable in the house. What is it? It's like 75 out, no wind, and it's like your house is slowly heating up. It's like, okay, I don't like that. But all just normal stuff that you've got to go through. But here we go, the end of August. Tons of stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one thing. I did see the one thing did you see the one poll in Iowa that showed that after the debate, DeSantis went from like, I don't know,
something
like
to 10, to like 22.
Yeah, like 10 to 22. Like he went up 12 points.
Yeah.
In Iowa in one day. And I just said, all right, I'm done doing the polls. Let's just talk ideas because I can't figure out who the people.
Well, no, it was weird. And somebody else, was it? Did Ramaswamy also rise in Iowa? Someone else rose, not to the extent, but DeSantis clearly had a huge bump in Iowa. And then you see that Trump's mugshot raised over $7 million for his campaign. I mean, it was a crazy weekend. The mugshot thing, you talk about being just a dud. In fact, even worse for the liberal media. They wanted this thing to be the embarrassment shot and the whole thing. And they did it out of they thought they were going to do it out of spite. He took the ball and ran with it and turned it into $7 million plus in campaign money. And but we talked about a couple of things too. There was some information about where the donors are, who's where are the donations right now. I mean, that the big story really was that $7 million being raised for the mugshot for Trump, but beyond that, where are the donors themselves lining up?
Well, when I now understand I want to make sure everybody, it was a DeSantis internal poll, and that they wanted to release, so they wanted to promote that, and so you can say, okay, let's take it for grain of salt, but it showed his support going from 14 to 21, 21%. It was a Public Opinion Strategies poll, and so if they're doing the poll, do you do a, this would be an interesting thing because as they write here, they said, well, releasing a campaign poll usually comes with an agenda or narrative, so the results should be taken with a grain of salt. I would ask the question directly to these polling firms. Then do you skew the polls on purpose?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
exactly.
Are you a polling firm? Or I mean, you can be bogus on a polling firm.
Oh,
you can,
the wording of the questions we talked about forever.
Right, but is the polling legit?
Yeah.
Because if the polling's legit, I can't see how could one if you're sitting there and you're an Iowa caucus voter, and all this time it's like no, just I'm not going to vote for DeSantis. I'm not going to be. How can you not know about DeSantis right now? I mean, how can't you not know about him if you're somebody who's going to vote in the Iowa caucuses? You're a part of that, or you're going to be a primary voter. It's almost like one debate and boom, magically. There's just something wrong with that, or I don't want to deal with these people anymore.
Yeah, right.
And I have no problem if you support DeSantis. I want to make that clear.
No,
it's who are these people that change their minds? It's the same thing we talked about last week.
Undecided voters.
Who are the people that next October, the end of October, that are going to be going, I still don't know.
The weekend before the election. Who are you going to go for?
I just don't know. I don't know if I want Trump or Biden. They're just. I can't. I don't know if I'm a Republican or a Democrat. Yeah, so could you give me more information? Where have you been?
No, I mean, somebody commented about that not based on what we were saying, but another article on undecided people. And it also, they kind of mixed them in with independents. And those are two very different groups, by the way. Because there are people that will go back and forth. And the independents, the ones in the middle, and we've said this forever, I think it's one of the first points you made, my gosh, back in summer of 2005, before the Tom DeLay comment, before your head exploded. And you said, you were saying, look, you have to, and it was common wisdom then, but it just seemed like nobody was really pointing it out. You have to have the independents to get you over the top. You need essentially the middle if you're going to win the White House and the general. But, I also, over the weekend, in my mind, I don't know, and I don't trust pollsters. What is the middle? Who are the independents? It's what is the makeup of that group, and how is it changing? I would love to know. I would love some insight into that. So we'll get Scott Rasmussen on the job, maybe. Do something very expensive.
Well, I think there's
free,
think that's something that's not talked about because we're thinking all independents are the same,
and they're not.
Then there's a wide variety of independents out there. We'll talk about that coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
This preventative maintenance tip is brought to you by Hot Shot Secret, the country's #1 fastest growing oil and additive company. If you've been driving a diesel any length of time, you know diesel fuel quality can be an issue. There are U.S. standards that diesel fuel is supposed to meet, like cetane number, lubricity, aka wear protection, deposit control. But oftentimes the fuel at the pump falls short. Let's highlight diesel fuel's cetane number. In most states, the minimum a cetane number can be is 40. Through years of testing, Hot Shot Secret has found the average cetane number across the nation is between 42 to 45. And most modern engines are built and tuned to operate best with a cetane number closer to 50. This is why a premium additive is needed to keep cetane numbers up, to keep the engine operating at its best while helping with fuel economy and DEF regeneration cycles. Add Hot Shot Secret Everyday Diesel Treatment, a 6-in-1 fuel booster at every fill-up to keep cetane numbers in a premium range while also protecting your fuel system. Learn more about the science behind diesel fuel and Hot Shot Secret's Everyday Diesel Treatment at HotShotSecret.com.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. When we talk about independence and where independents are going to go, I mean this is one of the I think discussions we've had for the longest time, and we've talked about the number of Trump supporters that after Biden won would say, well, see what a horrible job he's doing because of mean tweets, and you wouldn't vote for him for mean tweets.
Yeah.
Well, it gets to the fact of what demographics vote for you, and there's a huge, wide area of independents out there that think in a different way. And as we have stated, well, by saying that, you're acknowledging that some people would not vote for Trump solely based on his tweets, solely based on how he writes his tweets, solely based, and I've heard this, on his personality. Well, then you have to ask your question. Should your candidate be sensitive, still promote the same issues, but be sensitive to how they communicate their message, or do you expect independents to change to vote for your candidate?
Call and join the conversation. 1-866-90 Red Eye. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Yeah, so how do independents think? I mentioned last week the conversation I had with Independent Bob. And even though Independent Bob has become much more conservative, he cannot, he will not, he has not. He did, I believe he did in 2016. I don't believe he did in 2020. Maybe he didn't in 2016. I'm not sure. But he can't vote for Trump. He will not vote for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll vote for DeSantis. He'll vote for any other Republican. He won't vote for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I got into some of the conversation with him, trying to feel him out about, all right, so what do you think about these, the charges? And he said, well, he shouldn't have done those things. And I said, yeah, but the charges themselves. And I got the feeling that, because I told him, I said, well, there were no laws broken here. There were no laws broken. And where there may be laws broken that they would have to prove, that's something they could charge every president with after that president is out of office for retaining some type of top secret records, as we know. In fact, they got him. He's like, well, it's almost like, well, I know you're right on that, but I just want Trump gone no matter how you get him gone.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get from him as he has turned more conservative over the years and realized that the Democrats are insane. He is the kind of person, not that he would look at the No Labels Party as a party that is going to do anything, but as a protest vote, I believe he would vote that way. He's not going to vote for Cornel West. Right. He's not going to vote for a Democrat. And so that's why I say when you talk about independence, and it's been a huge discussion, and it's something that every single Trump supporter knows of because they've talked about it. They've done tweet. Every single Trump supporter that I personally know has put that on social media at least once.
Yeah, right.
Oh, see what you got with Biden, but you wouldn't vote for Trump because of mean tweets, which we have stated. Then stop the mean tweets. Mm-hmm. Whose responsibility is it to get votes? The Republican Party and the candidate? Or is it up, and what's more likely, to get the candidate to change? And that may not be likely in the case of Trump.
Yeah, but I'm guessing based on the pattern, no.
What should your expectation be? That a candidate does the right thing, still promotes what they believe, but the proper tone, understanding that he's already got the converted and understanding that you need to talk in a different tone to independents who are trying to find a reason to vote for you but can't. But in Trump's case, I don't think anything he could do now would bring back somebody like Independent Bob. I just don't
likely,
think I just don't believe it. I don't believe it would. But when you look overall, just of that mindset that exists out there, well, independents should have voted that way. Well, do you think you can get the millions of independents to say, oh, okay, since Trump supporters tell me I need to forget about his tweets, I will? No, they're already where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. That's the challenge that Trump has. Now, as I've said, the Democrats are so screwed up, and we're in uncharted territory that you never know. And if you get, it seemed over the weekend, the Democrats are getting worried, number one, about Cornel West, about the No Labels Party, about Newsom, Gavin Newsom. I almost said Devin Newsom. Gavin Newsom now in the debate against DeSantis. And I really wonder when Trump people are going to start attacking DeSantis for doing this interview, because that'll actually be pretty big. What does mean? Does that mean?
No, I'm just
agree?
Considering it. I think it could be. Yeah, definitely.
I just think it is because number one, there won't be a lot going on at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a year from elections because it's going to be in that November, and it's about California versus Florida.
Yeah, right.
And,
yeah, I
and
mean,
so
well, and here's the other thing too. If you take the people out of it for a moment, the personalities out of it for a moment, what do you really have? Actually, you could leave that factor in, and it could be worse for the Democrats. And this is the reason. Biden is, the far left will tell you, horrible at articulating their agenda. And I would argue he's horrible at articulating anything. But here's what you and I pointed out to when the whole discussion about Newsom started to become an actual discussion. And that is this. Newsom is on point. Newsom can actually articulate the agenda. So rank and file Democrats who are not really on board with where the far left is going look at that quite possibly, and I would love to see a polling on this, as, or maybe not, we've kind of thrown out the polling, but they see that as a problem because it means further, look, he's going to be a guy, if Biden steps down and Kamala Harris isn't going to run and he's the guy, the far left will tell you we need people who can articulate our agenda and be more aggressive. The rank and file Democrat, people in the middle look at that and say, no, actually, you don't want that.
Yeah, I would tend to look and say they want Newsom. Now, Biden has done these things that Americans disagree with. Right. And so the fallback, I think, for liberals is get rid of him. He doesn't articulate our agenda, even though he is doing more of their agenda than any other Democratic president in history, including Obama. But the fact is the public isn't buying it. Mm-hmm. So they need a distraction.
Right.
I don't think DeSantis can sell California to the American public.
You mean Newsom?
What'd I say?
DeSantis.
Jeez. That's a very key point.
DeSantis may literally want to sell California.
I don't think that Newsom can sell the California mindset to the American people,
right.
But he will be better at distracting and attacking the personalities of the Republicans.
Okay, so this may be nothing. That's interesting you say that. This may be nothing. Because I've kind of been looking up stories about Newsom and things that he's been talking about. And it's a lot of state stuff. I mean, imagine that, the governor of a state talking state stuff. And there were some things that, and it's not anything that's catching fire nationally at the moment. But I've noticed his wording seems a lot more, I won't say centered, but ambiguous. Right?
Yeah.
Where
very good.
Politically ambiguous, where it's, he's just going to, smile and then, well, what we're looking at is blah, blah. There are certain words that come out of Newsom's mouth and, well, anyone on the far left that they use that will send up the woke flag. It will absolutely tell you what their agenda is. And if you're following closely, you already know what their agenda is. But in selling Newsom to the rest of the world or outside of the blue bubble of California, he's going to have to be more politically ambiguous if he's going to be successful.
Yes, I agree with that.
And I don't know if that's what he's doing right now is a practice run, or if I'm reading too much into it, or if it's coincidence. But it could be a practice run. It could be, let's start changing, because we don't want those quotes coming back on us. What we want is this. James Carville with Bernie. And by the way, Bernie saying that, basically a Democrat challenge to the president, that's, we shouldn't be having that kind of thing. This wouldn't be a challenge. In the case of Newsom, he's not going to primary against Biden. It'll happen if Biden has to step down for any reason. But when you look at that, they may be looking at the polling and thinking you need to have that broader appeal, and you can't have those with the party agenda take care of the party agenda after you get elected. But he's going to have to be, in terms of his message, in terms of how he talks, he's going to have to be a lot more politically ambiguous than he has been in the past. And keep in mind, you know, his old stomping ground, San Francisco, imploding right now. But this is a guy who's very far left, very modern, and I'm wondering how many in the party and or rank and file are looking for Democrats to get back to that ambiguous language so they can get their agenda done and not be so straight out front, we're coming for your children.
I already know what my major theme would be if I'm a Republican political consultant for the Republicans and Newsom decides to run. Vote for Newsom if you wish to be like San Francisco.
Oh, man, all day, yeah.
That's what I would do all day, all day long.
Yep.
And so he can't get by that. To show you, because people look at it and go, okay, look, he's got the look. As I said, he's got the Pat Riley 80s look is what he has. Oh, okay, he looks young and everything else, and so he's a guy to go to. But he has the same problem that any other liberal Democrat has. You saw it with reparations. Yes, I'm for reparations. I'm putting together the panel. Here is the panel. We're gonna go and they're gonna look into it and everything else. And all of a sudden, the panel that he puts in goes insane. $5 million. You know, it's going to.
What was was it two? Was it up to $200 million?
Yeah, something was $200 million. $200 million. Where I mean, it got to be a joke for when finally the group put together said, okay, here's what we're decided. You know, here's what we've decided. Whatever it is, $1.5 million to $5 million. I can't even remember what the last one was because it gets so ridiculous. They go back to him and say, well, what do you think? Well, we'll see what the legislature does, but you know, reparations isn't all about the money. Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's the only thing it's about. And then he's been completely quiet on it.
Yeah.
He can't touch it.
Yeah.
He's got the same problem every single liberal Democrat has. If the Republicans would ever wake up, and that is the fact that none of them can actually defend what they're doing.
Exactly.
They can deflect. They can deflect.
There's no way to defend it. There's no way to debate it. There's no way to put that on a debate stage and make it work.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Did you hear Kevin McCarthy over the weekend? This is a way for the Republicans to justify agreeing with the Democrats and spending more money. If we have a shutdown, the Biden investigation will stop. McCarthy said that over the weekend. In all likelihood, if there's a shutdown, everything shuts down. The Biden administration, the investigation into Joe Biden will stop.
So basically, telling his party, the GOP, yeah, we need to come to terms. We can't shut down the investigation,
right?
And then now the Democrats are going to want more. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no, we need $9 trillion.
and they're thinking, we don't care about Biden anymore. We hope he's gone.
Exactly.
Getting to that point.
Right.
So we have to throw Biden under the bus for $50 trillion?
Well, you know,
Bye, Biden.
You'll know if the Democrats are part of a bipartisan approach to cutting the budget. And it gets done quickly. Yeah, you guys just hurry up with that investigation. We need to get Newsom on stage. It is so, right now, so interesting. It's almost like walking through a forest or a jungle. You just don't know what you're going to encounter next. You know, you really don't know what you're going to run into next in the American political landscape. And it is, to me, fascinating all day long. And, man, we're just getting started on the 24 season. Wow.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hi, I'm Gary McNamara. He is Eric Harley. Good morning.
Hi.
Looking at the latest update on Tropical Storm Idalia, which is south of the western tip of Cuba. Will be over Cuba by 7 p.m. tonight, and looks like it will be early Wednesday morning when the eye would hit between, looks like, Tampa and the Panhandle in between there. And the eastern part of the Panhandle.
Yeah, the Gulf Coast of Florida.
The Gulf Coast, yeah. So they expect it to be a hurricane by 7 p.m. on tonight. It will hit hurricane strength. It's at 60 miles an hour right now. They believe it might be a Cat 2 by the time it hits. The western part of Florida. Mm-hmm. So I know DeSantis calling a state of emergency already, and we'll see where that goes. I was watching a local cast. I believe it was, I don't know if it was Sarasota or Tampa. They were talking about the fact that they're below rain this year, 14 inches. So they actually need the rain. So it's like sort of like me last night. Rain. So.
Yeah, my brother lives on the Gulf Coast of Texas. And we were texting each other on Saturday morning. He goes, man, we got some much-needed rain. I was like, and you don't think of that because you always think of the coast not needing rain, always getting that daily afternoon shower, but that hasn't been the case for a lot of the Gulf Coast.
You know who I just saw the story? You know who died yesterday? Joe the plumber. 49 years of age.
Yeah.
Pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
Remember him from Obama. So he was in his 30s.
Yep.
He was in his, wow.
That's where that debate about that, remember it was the $250,000 mark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now I think based on inflation, the $250,000 income is at poverty level. It's mid-poverty level.
It's $14,000.
Yeah. So but that debate was that it really, because Joe the plumber became, the poster child for conservatives. Hey, I'm out here working. I'm out here, doing a job a lot of people don't know how to do and maybe wouldn't do if they did know how to do it. It's not a pleasant job to do. And you're going to come in and tax me for working harder. And Obama was pretty much, yeah. So condolences to his family for sure.
You saw the up in New York, they had the protest of the migrant camps.
Mm-hmm.
And there were both sides out there. That's getting interesting up in New York.
Yeah. Well,
really interesting to see where that's going to go.
Well, here's the thing. We know that the left isn't supporting, they're not supporting this, even though, over the weekend that the headlines on the protests, we know in New York they're not supporting it on the left because you have people like Mayor Adams. We can't do this.
He was out.
We can't do this.
He was blaming Texas again.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Well, on every topic, the Democrats never complete the sentence, the full equation. It's like, that 1 + 1 = 2, but they never get past 1 plus.
Yeah.
They just ignore the second. Well, no. 1 and 1 isn't 2 because 1 plus. Yeah, but there's another 1 after it. And I'm saying this by the sanctuary cities where they invited them in. They've invited illegal immigrants and told illegal immigrants that we will protect you from the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And so you come here. So naturally, migrants who come in and illegal immigrants, hey, here's a free ticket. Would you like to go to New York? Yeah, we're going to go to New York. And the states offer them because Biden has opened up the border. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And so what is the Democrat argument? It's the state's fault. It's Arizona's fault. It's the fault of Texas. It's the fault of Florida for offering migrants and illegal immigrants. I'm assuming there's illegal immigrants in there as well as migrants. And migrants means that this administration has legalized them. They have temporary status of being legally in here until they either call the court or whatever, until their court date comes up. They're in here legally. And so what do they scream about? They scream about the border states and ignore the part of the question, which is the 1 plus, which is, well, if Biden wasn't allowing them in, the states wouldn't be doing this. They just conveniently ignore that, and the demonization goes to the Republican governors.
Yeah.
You see that, for example, I'm reading right here, Chilling with Net Zero, interesting article from National Review about what's going on in Great Britain and where this whole climate change thing is going. Millions of families are going to be urged in Great Britain not to heat their homes in the evening to help the government hit their net zero target. Climate Change Committee said people should turn off their radiators at peak times as part of a wider drive to deliver emissions savings. And they talk about the things that they're telling people to cut back on now in order to save the planet. And, we know the ultimate example was California last year when they had problems. And right after they talked about, how wonderful it's going to be that everything was going to be electric vehicles, within a week they were telling you not to charge your electric vehicles because they didn't have the power. Again, yesterday was another day where the warning went out. Thank goodness. It was a little cooler, especially in the Dallas area, but we've been close every single day of not having enough power in this heat wave to cool the state of Texas, to provide electricity to the state of Texas, and it's only going to get worse. And I saw that it was out there, and you should see the Democrats like crazy on there. See, it's the Republicans. See, it's Abbott. If Democrats were in, we'd solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Where the reality is Republicans acting like Democrats is what caused this problem.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And the federal government offering all the free subsidies has made it so even that the solution from the Republicans is we can't stop the federal government from doing and giving the subsidies. We can't stop people from taking those subsidies. We can't fight that. So the only thing we can do is set up 10 natural gas plants or whatever the figure was that will run only 10% of the time, which the taxpayer is going to have to subsidize, which will skyrocket electricity prices and increase your taxes.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's all liberalism that's causing it. So those people, those Texas Democrats, that they believe it's Abbott's fault, what is your solution? They don't have a solution. They can't finish the equation. They'll just blame Abbott, hoping that he'll lose his next election. And then a Democrat will come in and do what? How do Democrats plan on solving the problem besides telling you to buy an electric car, and then 10 years from now, when everything's supposed to be an electric vehicle, telling you we don't have enough electricity for you to charge your vehicle, because that's where it's going.
Well, we saw it last week when the wind died down. ERCOT and sending out the notices here in our state saying you need to conserve in this part of the day because there's no wind.
Yep. They've been blunt. There's not enough. I think it was Saturday when we got up to 109.
Well, what's interesting,
I actually went to the ERCOT app, and it was about 80% of the power was being produced by natural gas. It was 75 to 80% by natural gas, coal, and very little hydropower.
But the local
in the
media,
state of Texas.
Yeah, but the local media doesn't explain that because the grid may be under strain because of the extreme heat. They don't finish the equation.
Right. It's not the extreme heat.
It's the reliance on wind power.
Right. We have it, but it's almost as if, well, the extreme heat is not like a hurricane hitting.
Right.
It doesn't. The extreme
it's not a rare event.
The extreme heat does not keep you from having a consistent form of energy.
Right.
The reason that in the state of Texas, ERCOT is calling you to cut back is because of the liberal mindset of how we produce energy. End of story. That's it.
Right.
The heat has nothing to do with it.
No.
It's
Texas.
It's the fact that we have made a decision, even in states like Texas. We have made the decision, and now they're backing off on it, but we've even made the decision to ensure that we don't provide enough consistent power to the population because apparently it's what the population wants.
Yeah, to be under that threat when it's hot in the summer. Remember, was it earlier this year or was it last year when they said, and there are also some clouds, low wind and clouds. The clouds were impeding solar farms.
Well, I was looking the other day when remember how they were extending it to like 8 for like a couple of days last week. It wasn't just the normal, 4 to 7 in the afternoon or 4 to 8.
Oh, no, you're right.
It became 4 to 10, and I saw why. I went to the actual grid and looked at it, and you saw the problem was the wind was dying down, then solar is disappearing as you get 6, 7, 8 o'clock. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the real problem was coming in. That's why they were saying 8 to 10 o'clock also was in there, because people are using their air conditioning, and then wind was going to be gone and solar was going to be gone.
Mm-hmm. We've always known
idiots.
This. By the way, we've always known this. Peak usage is in that prime time after people get home from work up until the time they go to bed.
Right.
We've known that. Texas is hot. That's been the case for at least as long as I've been alive. I'm guessing longer. I can't prove it. Or maybe I can. This is so stupid that we're at this point. It's absolutely ludicrous that we're at this point, and we chose it.
Mm-hmm.
You vote for these things. You ask for these things. And when they go into play and all of a sudden they are policy and affecting your life on a daily basis, if the entire state's not screaming, they're accepting it. We should be absolutely screaming at the top of our lungs, stop this nonsense.
Well, the Democrats were claiming that getting rid of Abbott and putting liberal Democrats in the state of Texas will solve our energy problems.
Yeah, Beto was going to be the answer.
Does anybody believe that in the state of Texas, that the left, with their policies on climate change, will solve and remember how it accelerates. Texas is different. Other states are cutting back, but Texas is we're still building homes. We're still building new apartments. We're bringing millions of people in, tens of millions of people in, every 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to produce even more than states that are losing population.
Right. Yeah, the grid has a greater burden, and yet we insist on ramping up the risk.
Pure insanity.
It is. It's ludicrous.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Most owner-operators leased to larger carriers are paid on a per-mile basis or a percentage of revenue per load. The per-mile basis is most prevalent among larger fleets, percentage at smaller. Pay per mile tends to dominate discussions about pay just because it's easier to measure, and pay per mile often is wrongly used as the deciding factor in leasing to a carrier. While pay per mile can be a vital factor, it's not a cure for every ill, nor does it mean a big settlement check is coming an owner-operator's way. Why? Because pay per mile always must be considered in balance with gross revenue as well as total costs. Gross revenue can include flat mileage pay that varies by length of haul, percentage revenue pay, and more. Most importantly, though, for every revenue dollar generated, only part of that dollar is profit. But for every extra dollar of cost saved, the entire dollar contributes to profit. Knowing and understanding your cost to operate is fundamental to understanding the true value of any pay package. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Shell Rotella with advanced synthetic technology. For more information, go to overdriveonline.com to the Overdrive's Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on Business 101 and many other topics.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. It's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, we'll have a Kamala gift for you.
Listen, it's the thought that counts. Or lack of thought. In her case, man.
By the way, you and I were. Sometimes people explain something that's in a more impactful way than we can. And I know people are doubting that. There's no way.
Yeah.
Sometimes there is. For example, we talked last week about the state of California now where you have the legislature in Sacramento wanting to provide unemployment benefits because of the Hollywood strike to the actors and people in Hollywood, that you would get unemployment even though you were striking. Now, this would just be for the state of California, and we talked about the fact how they're already $30 billion in debt to federal Social Security that they're having to pay off, each and every month, and this is what they wish to do. And we talked about, no, you don't do it if people are on strike. Unemployment is for people that are truly unemployed and don't have a job to go to and didn't choose to go on strike.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Wall Street Journal. Jobless benefits for Susan Sarandon.
I love it. Yeah. So, let me ask you, Mr. Pitt. Is it Pitt? Yeah. Brad Pitt. Let me see.
Oh, I thought you meant Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld.
Yeah. So Brad, what is it that you do normally that you can't do right now? I'm an actor. Sometimes I'm a producer. Sometimes I'm a writer. Oh, okay. So, what skills do you have? I can act. I can produce. I can write. Oh, okay. Did you fill out any applications this week? Welcome to Home Depot. Do you need a card? Is that Brad Pitt? Is Brad Pitt working at Home Depot?
I just love how they pick Susan Sarandon, though. Jobless benefits for Susan Sarandon.
I love that.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight.
And thank you.
We make it so convenient for you. 866-90 Red Eye. What did I do with that Kamala?
Oh, yeah. You got to play that.
Okay. I do have the.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right. Kamala Harris.
Here she goes. This is her over the weekend on MSNBC. All right. Here we go.
All right.
There are forces that are intentionally trying to divide us as a nation. We need to be clear-eyed about that also. So when I think about this fight, it is also a fight to unify and to resist the forces that are trying to divide us. You know, let's not be manipulated, and let us not be deterred. We cannot be tired. We cannot be overwhelmed. But let us also, in this moment, understand the significance and the importance of bringing our country together around, again, foundational principles about who we are as America. And I say that as Vice President of the United States.
You say what as Vice President of the United States?
There are forces attempting to divide us. Who?
She says on MSNBC. Who would that be? Just who would that be?
Well, are there really forces that are trying to divide us, or is there such a wide disparity on opinions of how things should run that it naturally causes a divide? Right. Now, you could say there are foreign sources. You know, I'm sure that Russia and China and North Korea would like to divide us.
Oh, yeah.
But she's trying to make the case, Democrats on MSNBC, that there are forces that are trying to divide us, that their only goal is to divide us, that nothing is issue-based, that there's just this division going on because people like division. Mm-hmm. They like, I mean, now I will say this, for example, I do remember when I was in college, you could accuse me and my buddies for doing that. When we would be in the student union, and back then it was the Lyndon LaRouche people.
Yeah.
The New York Labor Party. Mm. And so they would sit, that was when they were talking about the Queen of England runs all the drug trade throughout the world. I mean, they were into all sorts of conspiracy theories. So my buddy Jack, he was an expert at it. My buddy Jack would go up and start discussing things with them, and he had a way of doing it. I mean, Jack was very sophisticated for being in college. He could go up and start talking to you. I mean, he's the guy that when I first met him, because still remember, we're sitting at the cafeteria. Jack walks up. This guy looks like a hippie. You know, He's got long hair, everything else. I go, Jack, what's up? He goes, I got my work hat on, my work glasses, my work shirt, my work pants, my work boots, my work belt, my work shoes. I'm headed to the welfare office.
There you go.
That was the first time I met him. And he looked like a hippie, and I always thought, you know, and I went through college with him, and we really didn't get into talking a lot about specifics about politics, but I'll never forget when I became a talk show host when I moved from Chicago to Buffalo and became a full-time talk show host at the top station there. Mm-hmm. First live broadcast I'm doing from someplace. I don't know whether there's a supermarket or whatever. I'm doing a live broadcast, and I can see him. He's walking up, and I go, oh, boy. Now I'm going to find out. And was absolutely a conservative. I mean, it was just as conservative as could be. But in college, there's Jack, and he goes up and starts talking to the New York Labor Party. Like, well, what are you talking about exactly? Huh? Well, we're talking about, and he'd wait till the jocks started coming in. Mm-hmm. And then in the middle of the sentence, and these people weren't going crazy at the moment because they had Jack's attention. Jack turned, looked, saw them coming. He goes, what do you mean you hate America? I love America. You hate it. You hear? These guys hate America. What do you mean they hate America? And then all of a sudden there are people screaming at each other, and Jack would simply walk away, come up, and we'd sit on this great big wall in the student union inside where you could look down, and we'd just sit up there and eat our lunch and look down at the riot that Jack had started. So I will say at that point we were attempting to just divide, or Jack was attempting to divide.
Yeah.
Just for but that was for entertainment purposes. Purely entertainment purposes. But when you look at today, if you give an opinion, you're dividing. And so I think what the left's point is, any opinion that comes from the right is just looking to divide, because it's just nobody would ever hold those opinions.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which, of course, is ridiculous, as we know. The reason there's a divide in this nation is, and we've said it, and I'm not saying it to divide, I'm saying it because it's accurate, the policies of the left are insane and can only be defended through lies.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll start with number one and say, if you hold this opinion, everything else you hold has to be suspect, that a biological man can be a biological woman if the biological man says so. We all know, and I was thinking about this over the weekend, I really wonder what the percentages are of people that actually believe that versus those that are intimidated to believe that.
Well, I would ask also, of those who claim to actually believe it, do they actually believe it?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. They want everything, and they want basically to control the language. They want it to be a certain way. They want it to be something, but they know it's not. I don't care how an adult lives their life, but you're not going to change science. You're just not. And they have to, and I'm convinced they all know that. But living the lie, the delusional state of mind, serves whatever purpose they believe. I really don't know. It's bizarre. And look, we get the whole thing on energy. One of the other points that, if you believe that we can sustain our grid on wind and solar, you're delusional.
That is scientific insanity.
And it's just simply not possible where we are right now. Call me in 100 years, maybe. It's not happening right now, and we're forcing the mandates at the moment to force something that's not possible.
It's non-science insanity.
Exactly.
I said
yes.
Scientific insanity.
Yeah.
But it's non-science
there you go.
Insanity. And everybody knows it. People can figure it out. They know about it because it's not hard. I've got solar panels. They don't work at night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple.
No,
we all know, and who doesn't have solar garden lights? Probably most people have some of them in the yards. They understand it. Get the solar power during the day. You need a huge, 12-hour charge in order to hope that it goes 6 or 7 hours overnight.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And and so everybody knows, but the solar panel themselves are useless. You have to have the batteries, the rechargeable batteries, inside of there to provide it.
Right.
But we all know that we don't have a battery big enough to hold the power for a state or a country. It doesn't exist and won't exist. And therefore, when you use the energy, you need to use it right at that moment. That needs to be going down through the lines, and it does it very quickly at 187,000 or 186,000 miles per second. Yeah. Is how fast it moves through the lines. So it's doing it very quickly. But the fact is, we don't have it. We see what's going on in this country. We see the way Europe is panicking now, even going to coal, while we are willingly BS'd by the left. Still, that we can do all this by 2035 when it is impossible to do. Impossible.
Yeah, right.
They're even admitting now, well, we can't get it done by 2035. Well, then why are you saying that every car needs to be solar? Every car needs to be electric by that point.
Right. Look, these mandates are setting up something that cannot be achieved. It just is impossible to do it right now. The mining of the materials. If you look at the math on what would have to happen to make these mandates happen on EVs.
But the truth is the country is divided because the country is divided on issues.
Yep.
So Kamala Harris, again, is not telling you the truth. There are people attempting to divide us. We need to stop it. Well, why are they attempting? Who are these? Who are these people, and why are they doing it?
Right.
Because somebody could make the point, you and Eric are attempting to divide the people. No, I'm not.
No. We're talking ideas.
Yeah, we're talking ideas and telling you the truth and the reality of things like electricity, of things like biology. And you're saying no, but won't provide any type of specific answer to back up your point.
If someone that I disagree with...
Except intimidation, that will divide.
If someone I disagree with goes to speak at a local college, I don't show up and shout, I know where you live.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd be more inclined, if anything, to go inside, sit down, and listen. Not because I think, oh, maybe my mind will change. No. I like knowing how the other side thinks.
Yeah, I want to know what their argument is.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, we'll talk about this. Shokin speaks, the prosecutor. You saw that over the weekend, talking to Fox News and saying that he believes that he was fired at the insistence of President Biden because I was investigating Burisma. He also says it's his firm personal conviction that he was fired because then Vice President Biden and Hunter were taking bribes. You know, the interesting thing is both, what's his name, Shlosevsky, the former head of Burisma.
Right.
Basically, they're both saying the same thing. Think about it. The prosecution and the defendant at that point are saying the same thing.
You know, that's interesting.
I just thought about that.
That is very interesting because they're both they are both sides of that equation in Ukraine.
Yes. Yeah. And you know the whole thing. You've seen it starting to die about the fact. Remember, Shokin was corrupt. But then the legal papers came out how he was trying to take Shlosevsky's property and things like that. He was going after them legally.
Right.
At that point, that sort of took that argument away once that came out, once those apparently legal documents were found or presented.
And I'm still wondering about the phone calls that were apparently recorded by the president of Burisma.
Right. To protect himself down the road. So you think about it, Shokin, who was the prosecutor,
is basically cooperating.
Shlosevsky, who was the defendant who was going after,
right,
have basically told the same story to America.
Yeah.
That the Bidens were being bribed. Both sides of it are saying it. And I think it's important because I haven't heard anybody put that together in that way and say, well, you know, both the prosecution and the defense are sort of saying the exact same thing about the Bidens.
Right.
So,
yeah, very interesting situation.
And so if Shokin is talking, will Shlosevsky at some point talk?
And by the way, the August break ends next week, so then we're back to it. It'll be interesting to see where the GOP in the House goes.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Yes, we are. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. 866-90 Red Eye. Good morning. Well, I see, after all, after the White House, after Democrats, after the governor of Hawaii blamed the Maui wildfires on climate change, it seems as if the lawsuit filed against the energy provider by Maui itself, the county of Maui, is not blaming climate change, but blaming negligence of the power company for not turning down certain lines, for not clearing brush from electric lines. And that's one of the things that's been talked about, how so many of these grid providers are so caught up in the climate change aspects, they're not doing their damn job.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality. What are they suing after? Maui argued in the lawsuit that the energy provider has a duty to maintain and repair the electrical transmission lines and other equipment, including utility poles, associated with their transmission of electricity, and to keep vegetation properly trimmed and maintained so as to prevent contact with overhead power lines and other electric equipment. That doesn't seem to be climate change. The lawsuit further alleges the power company energized and down power lines, ignited dry fuel such as grass and brush, causing the fires. A lawsuit also alleges failure to maintain the system and power grid, which caused the systemic failures, starting 3 different fires on August 8th. Lawsuit alleges that the defendants acted negligently by failing to power down their electrical equipment despite a National Weather Service red flag warning on August 7th, Maui County said in a release announcing the lawsuit. They claim that's what caused the fire. That's not climate change.
Nope. No. Look, if you have aging components of your power grid and a refusal to repair them or upkeep them, then the inevitable is going to happen. You have the right conditions of dry vegetation and a spark. We all know how it works.
Well, I have to ask this question. You know, because we talk about Kamala Harris saying people purposely trying to divide other people. If you lie about what caused a major problem, are you attempting to divide? Since Kamala Harris has brought it up about the fact that it's terrible that there are forces attempting to divide, if you lie about where you stand on the issue, are you attempting to divide?
Well, let me ask you this, because I'll add to that, I guess. If you issue a dissent, if you're on the left, in this case, if you challenge what they're claiming, if you say it's not climate change, and they're of course they've been on the climate change train, that's what caused it, and you say it's not, what do you think is going to happen to you? The mob will shut you down. They'll come after you. You can't step out of line. If you're somebody who's on the left and you come out and say, well, no, it looks like it wasn't climate change. It looks like you didn't have the upkeep of the components of our power grid. And that is if these are the problems we've seen with dissent on any level on the left. Jon Stewart on Colbert. Hey, maybe it was a lab leak. Oh, my gosh, he's sounding like Fox News. Or maybe it was a lab leak. These are the things that happen. And so where's the division coming from?
Well, I wonder if the left figured that just saying climate change is the ultimate excuse they need to never do their job as politicians.
Oh, sure.
That no matter what, everything is beyond our control to do anything because climate change.
Right.
We can't stop wildfires. We can't stop hurricanes. We can't have a proper emergency response to anything that exists out there. We will fail in our duty to the public because climate change just overwhelms us. So the solution, give us more of your money.
Yeah.
That's what it seems to me. Or am I wrong?
No, I mean, that's exactly what we're dealing with here. Hawaii and the people of Hawaii, especially those who lost loved ones, are dealing with devastation. The question is, do we want the truth or not?
Remember, the push on the left and the Democrats for the president to call a climate state of emergency on this. They're using any excuse they possibly can to not do their damn jobs. That's what it is.
Right.
When it comes down to it, they don't want to do their jobs.
Right.
They want to live in some type of delusional world, and they don't want to do their job, which is to serve the public and provide services to the public and keep the public safe. You think about that. Keep the public safe in our inner cities. They could care less about keeping the public safe.
Oh, I think that's clear right now.
So everything, I'm amazed. Wait a minute. Has somebody said that the crime in the cities is climate change?
They have tied higher crime to climate change.
I thought because of heat?
Yeah. Yeah, they have. Yeah, it's true.
I'm looking it up here. I'm actually putting it in Google. Have they tied,
higher crime?
Have they tied
as a result of climate change? Climate change causing increase in crime. Right? They have. Of course they have.
I'm seeing if there's any headlines. There it is. Global warming to increase violent crime in the United States.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, here it is. Harvard Kennedy School, crime, weather, and climate change. Look, if you're a police officer, you know that during warmer weather, the bad guys are out more. They like to work in nicer conditions. But that's not the point the left is trying to make. Oh, see? It's climate change.
Climate crisis linked to rising domestic violence.
Yeah, Cooperative Institute for Research. Global warming to increase violent crime in the United States. This is back in January of 2020. Wow, January of 2020. Nobody even knew what the word COVID meant yet.
Climate change exasperates violence against women and girls. Mm-hmm. Let me just see. I have to do this because the NFL cut day is tomorrow. They're making cuts already.
Oh, yeah.
Kaepernick not playing.
Due to climate change.
Due to climate change. I'm actually putting this in. Since everything else I'm putting in comes up, you get the pattern here. No matter what the problem is, it's all climate change.
Right. If you just let us tax you more and limit what you can use in your home and in your vehicle or the type of vehicle you can use, then there won't be such a rise in crime.
Okay, you ready for this? September 24, 2017.
All right. Okay. All right.
No, they're not actually blaming climate change, but the headline, is there climate change for Kaepernick's return after NFL's clapback at Trump? But they had to use climate change in the sentence somehow.
Right.
Maybe can we relate climate change to Kaepernick in some way from 2017.
Oh, my gosh.
And I just say that because all the preseason games are over. The cuts are starting. They have to be down to 53 players by tomorrow, I believe, at like 7 p.m. And so I was just wondering, is there any Kaepernick talk, or is it Kaepernick talk again? Can we write off any Kaepernick talk now for 2023-2024 season unless there's a quarterback injury? If there's a quarterback injury in one of the teams, then the Kaepernick talk will start again. But right now, there is no Kaepernick talk. None. Due to climate change.
Yeah. All right.
Well, the border. What's the problem because of the border? Climate change.
No, that's clearly climate change.
They're
coming to Texas because it's not as warm. Arizona too. Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's why. Well, forget about xenophobia of what's going on in New York and Chicago and other places that are starting to complain by the Democrats' own standard of what xenophobia is.
Right.
Are the people of New York, is Mayor Adams, is Hochul, are they all climate change deniers because that's why they wish to come to the United States? That's what we're being told by the president of the White House. The migration is all happening because of climate change, so we should send them to all the cooler climates, the migrants, to protect them, correct?
Yes.
New York?
Yes.
So good God, hey, they're the ones that come up with the arguments. Yeah. We just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And so that's why Adams is, that's why Adams is a climate change denier.
Right. And
so is Hochul. They're screaming to the federal government, wait a minute, you're the cooler places.
Right. They keep running into their own brick wall.
I know.
Their rule book doesn't make any sense. It really is just ludicrous. And here's the thing, too. Another poll that we can have our pollster friends take. Listen, it doesn't cost a lot of money to take a poll. Eric and Gary want to know. Come on, do the poll. How many actually believe it's an issue? Because if you call someone or you poll someone, do you believe climate change is an issue? Oh, yeah. If you sat down and had a conversation with that person, first of all, their knowledge about the world, the climate, and how it all works, and you really qualified that respondent, what would they really feel? What would they really say if they were being honest? What do people really think about this? Because ultimately, here's what they're saying. In order to save the planet, you can't drive that car. You're going to have to drive this car that costs twice as much. In order to save the planet, you can't use natural gas to power your electricity in your home. You're going to have to use wind and solar.
And you can't power. There will not be enough power.
That's right.
So you will have to. We read the article the other day. How they're already getting ready that you're going to have to get prepared to do without electricity for portions of the day, including when it really gets hot. You may have to turn off your air conditioning.
Right.
We're not coming up with that. By the way, I just found this too. How gender inequality and climate change are interconnected. Climate change seems to be they believe they found an excuse to not do their damn job for anything.
Oh yeah,
everything is climate change and beyond our control.
Yep.
Do they believe that their constituents, who they believe are idiots, do they believe that they will buy into that all?
Right. Remember the call we got a long time ago? The guy who said, listen, I think we should go back to the time of horse and carriage. Take care of a horse, just one horse, for 1 month, and then call us back. Go ahead.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let's go to John from San Francisco about energy. John, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Yeah, just really quick. You got to look it up. You can't believe this. California, we have a Diablo station power plant. It's a big nuclear power plant. We used to have about 5 of them in California, but they've shut them all down except for that's the last one running. On Thursday, a judge ruled against an environmental group, and they're going to leave it open because that plant provides 10 to 20% of all the energy for California.
Yeah.
And the rest of the grid, so they just lost. And believe it or not, the PUC and Gavin Newsom realized it's a total screw-up. So they had to get their own Public Utilities Commission in California to tell them to leave it on. So they're even going to have to upgrade it because they're finding out this other green energy doesn't work. It's not consistent, so it can't keep the grid going correctly.
Yeah, right.
The solar and the other.
Right.
And when you got no power, how are you going to plug in your Tesla? When you can't, you have to fire up. And we're banning gas generators too in California.
Well,
you heard that.
Yeah, I mean, John, when they announced the 2035 mandate on EVs, it was just days in California. It was just days later that the governor basically had to say, listen, don't charge your EVs this afternoon because we're going to have a shortage of power. And then by the end of that day, they had to scramble to find energy from another co-op. I don't know which it was, but they found energy from another co-op to buy to make sure that the grid would not be unstable. But that's where he was. He went from, in just a few days, starting in 2035, new vehicles sold have to be EVs to, hey, don't plug your EV in this afternoon because we don't have enough power.
Oh, and gets better. In all these areas, you still need the natural gas or the propane or the gas for the stoves, and they're banning all that here, too.
Oh, yeah.
And also the best is, did you hear about the one they just banned ceiling fans? That's the kicker.
Yeah,
That one?
Or the Biden wants to look into more efficient ceiling fans.
Well, they're creating more efficient, which, by the way, I'm sure will work better and cost a lot less, right? Because they always do. Yeah,
and made in China. You guys have a great morning.
Yeah. Thanks, John. It's just amazing that it's the Kevin Bacon thank you, sir. May I have another all over again? But we go back to this. We repeated it because we have to repeat it every time. We choose this. We are not an energy-poor nation. In our reserves, we dwarf the rest of the planet and what we have available in the ground and what we can use. It's cheap, it's plentiful, and we have cleaned it to death. I mean, to the point of, you talk about clean energy. There's nothing that is clean by the left standards.
No, there isn't.
Green energy isn't clean.
No.
You're a threat to democracy if you don't download our app, Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. 866-90 Red Eye. By the way, I did see this over the weekend. And look, I understand that the left has to exaggerate. The right doesn't.
Yeah, right.
when I saw this one. Biden alcohol czar says U.S. may follow Canada, limit beers to 2 a week.
Uh-huh.
Is that actually what's going on?
No.
That's a Fox News headline. I caught that on Friday, and I'd saved that. I just said, because we talk about, it bothers me more when those that call themselves conservative media purposely give you a headline that does not fit what's in the body of the story.
I wish I didn't. I'm almost positive I didn't bookmark it. There were 2 stories over the weekend just like that. The story was not what the headline suggested. That's another form of clickbaiting. If you've got to do that to, I guess, keep your money going, I guess it's what you do in today's age, but you lose integrity with me.
Right. I mean, it's a it would be the recommendation that nobody even I bet you if you ask Americans, not our audience, because we told you what it is, what are the guidelines right now for how many drinks you're supposed to have a week? I bet you no Americans can tell you.
I bet they couldn't tell you, but I bet if they were to guess at it, they'd say something like 14. 2 a day.
That is 2 a day. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We said it on Friday.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant 14 a day.
14 a day.
Sorry, I'm drunk. I am not.
Well,
drunk.
That's what happens when it's 14 a day, and you're paying very close attention to what the official guidelines are.
Sometimes the days run into weeks, and the weeks. No.
And so, I mean, it's part of the. Basically, it's the drink pyramid is what it is, like the food pyramid.
Exactly.
It doesn't dictate. And the other one was
because we're clearly following the guidelines of food.
The other one was the headline that Biden is going to mandate that everybody must take the new booster shot.
Right.
That's not what was being said.
No, they were going to.
The recommendation
they were going to recommend the booster
for
shot
everyone, but it was being written by conservative media as it would be mandated that everybody would have. That's how it was implied. The Democrats are now. They may sometime wish to do that,
and there may be some that still believe, and have said they believe we should have them mandated.
Right,
but that wasn't the story. That's not
the story.
That's not the story.
And the 2 drinks a day. It wasn't government going to limit you to 2 drinks a day. And that was how it's implied. And there it is. It's still there. I mean, this has been there for 3 days now. Biden alcohol czar says U.S. may follow Canada, limit beers to 2 a week. What does that tell you?
Yeah, right.
Number one, the alcohol czar.
Yeah.
And it goes dampening spirits and it's just like, stop with the drama. Just tell me the story. The alcohol czar wants to change the recommendation to 2 beers a week.
Right.
That's fine. It's a recommendation.
Right.
It's not limit beers to 2 a week, because there it is. Biden alcohol czar says U.S. may follow Canada, limit beers to 2 a week.
No.
What is the implication from there? The government's going to limit your beer intake.
Yeah, with enforcement behind it.
Right.
Of some sort.
That's not the story. Don't do that, conservative media. You don't need. Democrats are already trying to do enough where you don't need to make stuff up.
Yeah.
Even though it may be true someday and they may do it. I mean, as we talked about Friday.
Not that they wouldn't want to do
it,
but that's not what that story is versus what the headline reads.
The Democrats may say we're not getting enough tax money from beer, only 1 a week, but 20 bongs.
Yeah.
Because we're making more taxpayer dollars. Well, that's only when the federal government gets their 8% cut that they're looking for from legalized weed.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's just something that you and I always look for that. And am I more? Do we report it when the left does it? Yeah, every day. But the fact is, it bothers me more when the right does it. I've come to understand by doing this that the left has to lie.
Right.
They can't convince you of where they stand if they don't lie.
Right.
implying things that aren't there, because, that would get people going. The Al Bundy crowd would be going crazy. Limit beers to 2 a week. Big. Limit beers to 2 a week and mandate sex with the wife twice a day.
Yeah, week. Is that dog weeks?
The Al Bundy crowd would not like that.
Because actually, if it were dog weeks, if dog years are times 7, then it would be back to 2 beers a day, right?
Yeah.
All right. No, it's... Well, and here's the problem, too. What it promotes, what it nurtures, and this is on also the reader, the consumer of these headlines, if they don't follow through and actually read the story and do their homework. But it nurtures this mentality at the water cooler talk level of, hey, did you hear? We're going to limit it to 2 beers a week. Let's not do that. Because then the conversation becomes that, and then it circles back. Thank you, Jen Psaki. It circles back to the liberals going, yeah, see, they're telling lies on the right, saying the government is going to limit you to 2 beers a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not create that environment. Let's not encourage that type of environment and behavior.
Now, we understand you go, but they could. But that's different than are they?
Well, yeah, they could.
Because we saw
maybe some want to.
Right, we saw in New York City about wanting to ban the amount of soft drinks that you could buy at a particular time. Remember that also, that 42% of New Yorkers agreed with that.
Right.
And we're telling them, I can't control myself. I need government help, which is when Eric came up with the Freedom Card, that we should have a Freedom Card in the United States.
It's not affiliated with the Chase Bank Freedom Card, to be clear.
No, it is not. Or was there a Freedom Party?
Was there? I'm sure there was. But the Freedom Card, the idea was, all right, if you got your Freedom Card, then great. You get to live by the Constitution. If you want to hand in your Freedom Card and give it up to somebody, and we talked about this during the entire New York City limiting the soda cup size, when 42% of New Yorkers supported the idea. 42%. That's more than half.
By the way, there is the American Freedom Party, which is a white nationalist party. Eric's Freedom Card would have nothing to do with the American Freedom Party.
Absolutely nothing to do with that.
Yes, the Freedom Card, if you choose to live in a free world and be held accountable for the choices that you make, well, then you can acquire a Freedom Card. To everybody else who believes that they are weak and wants a mommy and daddy to tell them what to do every day, then you don't get a Freedom Card.
You can hand yours in.
You can hand yours in, or you don't get one.
Right.
Well, everybody should be handed a Freedom Card. That's the way it should be done. You all get a Freedom Card. You voluntarily surrender yours if you wish Joe Biden to make all of your decisions. If you say, I'm not capable of making my decisions on my own, but Kamala and Joe are.
Mm-hmm.
If you truly believe that, then you would hand in your Freedom Card.
Yeah.
And then they would take care of you for the rest of your life.
Right.
Well, I mean, they'd take care of you as best they could with the minimal sustenance to keep you, in poverty, but you don't have to do much to stay in poverty.
Yeah, right.
Because you're being taken care of.
Right, yeah.
Because you don't believe you have the ability to do it. But you'd have to voluntarily give it up.
Yeah.
And if you give it up, do you get it back? Can you get it back?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Oh, you could get your Freedom Card back? Okay.
Yeah, okay. And it would be a quiz. We'd start with a quiz. And the first question on the quiz.
3 branches of government.
Name the 3 branches of government.
All right, I like that. You can't get your Freedom Card back.
Yeah.
And then you have to be able to explain the separation of powers.
Yes.
I don't know if that may be asking for way too much.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's only the basis of the government that we live under.
It's a small thing.
Expecting people to understand that and actually explain it, maybe going way overboard.
Yeah. And then the next question would be Van Halen or Van Hagar? And by the way, one of them will get you exiled.
Van Weezer. Remember they did that album a couple of years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was their homage to basically heavy metal and all the guitars.
Yeah.
Every song, it's still the harmonies of Weezer, but the guitars are...
Yeah,
it's actually a good album.
No, he was on, I forget, I'm blanking on his name, the lead singer.
Rivers Cuomo.
Yeah, Rivers Cuomo was on one of the guitar sites, did a video interview and talked about, he did, in fact... He did some Yngwie licks on a guitar, Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, totally impressed. Not that he's not talented. It just, you don't put those two together.
And they did it before Eddie's death.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they did it after. They just wanted to do an album. They said, we just wanted to do a little bit of a harder album, but it still has the same, Weezer.
Yeah.
Humorous lyrics and and everything else, and it's still pop. But then they go into these heavy metal riffs.
Yeah,
I mean everything from Ozzy to whatever. And it's really a good. I mean, it's really a good album with that pop feel of Weezer at the same time.
I love it. Yeah, it's so we'd have some more pop culture questions, and then we'd get back to, let's see. Do you believe the Supreme Court should stay as it is? Do you believe the Senate should exist? Oh, we'd have a lot of questions. To earn back your freedom card once you give it up, you're gonna actually have to earn it. You're gonna have to earn it. We have some questions for you. Remember Mika on MSNBC on the whole salt thing?
God.
Well, they need to limit the salt because I know I can't control myself.
She'd have to give up her freedom card.
So someone needs to limit me over your weakness?
Well, Joe gave up his freedom card a couple of years ago.
He clearly turned that in. Yeah. He did.
Went to work for MSNBC and married her.
Yeah, no, I mean, he full on committed. He's not coming back. It's not going to happen. If you're waiting for it, stop waiting. It's not going to happen.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, Victor Shokin, Joe and Hunter Biden were being bribed. This is the prosecutor speaking. The interesting thing is we just touched on it a little bit earlier just because as we were going through different topics. That's really interesting because Shokin now is doing interviews with Fox News and saying, nope, I was covering this. Here's what I did. And the legal papers where he was trying to get I can't think of his name now. The head of Burisma's Shlosevsky was trying to get his legal paper to confiscate a ton of his property. He goes, I was going after him. That's all false. I was. And so that's interesting. But when you think about it, both the prosecutor and the possible defendant at that time are both saying the same thing, that the Bidens took bribes. So both the prosecution and the defense.
Yeah.
If he ever prosecuted the former head of Burisma, if he would have ever prosecuted him, they currently right now, according to the FBI 1023, and Shokin, with now him being on Fox News, have the same opinion. The Bidens were taking bribes. Wow.
Yeah, and that's not going to work well with what's going on. That's not going to work well for the Bidens. And then you have to add in the president of Burisma apparently having some recorded phone calls.
Yeah.
If those things ever surface, Man, is it going to be great.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Yes, Monday, last week of August. I'm telling you, we had winter-like weather here yesterday. I think the high was 99 or 100 maybe. That was it.
Yeah, my truck read 100 yesterday afternoon, around 3-ish in the afternoon, driving around. Looking at the rain in the distance, I was like, well, good for those folks. And it turned out to be one of those folks was you.
Yes.
You were getting rain in your neighborhood.
The rain woke me up. Not thunder, the rain.
What was it like? Did you go outside and dance around in it?
No, I just smiled. I went back to sleep. It was a Sunday, and normally I'll go to sleep because I sleep twice a day, but I went to sleep probably like 4.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 5:30, 5:45. So I hear this rain, and it's darker out, and I wake up. I had no idea where I was.
Yeah.
You know, I love those times when I wake up. It's like I have no idea what day it is. And you try to figure out, okay, what's going on? And all right, it's sort of dark here. So wait, it's only 5. What's that noise? It's like it's rain.
What is going on?
Wow. First time probably since like July 11th or something that I've seen rain.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I've seen fire and I've seen rain, and it's, what everybody wants. James Taylor lyrics here on the show.
I just want to see some rain. Yeah.
So that was really good. And
I saw some on Twitter.
Well, I can't wait to look. It's light out, and I can look at my lawn to see because it was looking a little stressed by the time we got to the end of last week. It was like, oh boy, this hot weather needs to end. Even my southern Bermuda, which is, probably 3.5 inches tall, and it's, what I did though, because this was before I watered it on Friday, because I cut my lawn. When I edged it, I could still see it was moist down there. There was some moisture still left.
Yeah, it's the blades that take that heat.
The heat, yeah.
If you've got it cut higher, I keep mine higher too. And what I have to worry about too is I had some erosion of some soil, so I've got to go back and amend some soil in certain areas. But yeah, it's the blades that kind of, man, they just don't look. The lawn still looks healthy. But I was driving through one neighborhood here locally not too long ago. A couple of lawns they just looked gone, completely gone. It appeared like they weren't watering much at all, if at all. And the heat, I mean, it's just, and on top of that, until recent days, we had winds. I mean, we had 10, 12-mile-an-hour winds or even higher, so that's like a blow dryer on your lawn all day, just drying things out dramatically. And so I'm hopeful that El Nino will bring us some rain, as they say that it most often does, a strong El Nino in the winter. But they're saying that won't happen till the winter, and that's like 2 years away.
Well, why am I getting excited? What's exciting in my life?
Oh, I can tell you right now. There's lots of musicals coming into town.
No.
Oh. I heard Meatloaf over the weekend on a speaker at a restaurant. And I thought to myself, if someone asked me, were you a fan of Meatloaf? Oh, with all due respect, I'm not a fan of musicals. It was theatrical in nature, and it was like watching a play. It's like,
and here he comes to first base.
Yeah.
And to second base. And they got to make it home.
No.
I have a feeling this song is not about a baseball game.
Yeah. No, the music didn't bother me at all. It's just that it's like it was more of a theatrical presentation. But so is Iron Maiden. By the way,
I heard live. He was just great though.
No, I
heard live. It was really intense.
And one of Dallas's own. So I've got to I really think he was very talented. He was a pretty good actor.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, he really was.
Who's playing tonight? The Blanken Beatles. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Are they good? No, they. He was the bouncer at the bar where Wayne and Garth were walking into.
Yeah.
That's
Tiny.
That's what they called him.
Tiny.
Hey, Tiny. Hey, Tiny.
Yeah. That's funny because when he was losing weight, they would ask him, well, how much weight are you trying to lose? He goes, look, I'm trying to lose enough weight to still be able to be called Meatloaf. I thought that was the best line. He was a good guy. He really was.
Yeah, the weather's getting cooler, which means more lessons and golf starts. Golfing really is.
Oh, golf!
Golf is the middle of, because I've been taking lessons since February and really have not gone out on the golf course.
Yeah,
I went out once, the first time, and I've gone out about 4 times since, but wasn't scoring at all. But the first time I made no mistake, so I didn't put down another ball because he told me not to score for the next year.
Yeah,
just focus on every shot.
So what do the greens look like? I mean, after all the heat now, I mean, how do they – I know that the upkeep is like 24/7 almost, but what does the heat do to golf?
I haven't been to the driving range here in 3 weeks, so I don't know. I don't know what happened. Because really everything really started beating down the last week. That's when I noticed my lawn was getting stressed, and so I'm assuming that you're going to see some of it, and I don't know how many other places. A lot of the golf places get it from their own wells, so they're not restricted. But if you don't get it from a well, you're restricted right now in my city for water. So they're not probably. A lot of these places may not be watering the fairways, the greens and the tees. They can. There were specific rules when I was looking at because we're like in, I don't know what it is, part 2 of the.
Phase 2
of the no rain, where I can only water my lawn once a week. And when I got that last Thursday, I saw that. I went, I'm not going to be my lawn can't handle that. If I don't, it may not survive. And all of a sudden, we got the rain yesterday. I'm like, okay, I'm fine. Water it next Friday, and then hopefully temperatures stay in the 90s, upper 90s. Don't get to 110 again, and I should be okay then at that point.
Yeah.
Because my grass is pretty tough.
Any measurement as to how much rain you guys got yesterday?
I don't know. No, I have no idea.
It was coming down at a very healthy pace.
Yeah, I mean, it came down. That's what I mean. It was really, and you get a good 15-minute rain. That's
you're soaking it. Yeah, for sure.
So that takes me for another week, and it's like, all right, then you're into September, and it's like, all right. Then I'm looking up north. I look where my dad lives, 56 degrees right now.
Yeah,
and they were talking about it's Labor Day weekend. Take advantage of it because the summer is almost gone, and we haven't had much of a summer. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait till we get past Labor Day just to get some 90-degree temperatures for the next month.
So we can go outside.
Yes.
No, I mean, that's the difference in the 2 areas of the country that you've been in. I mean, you grew up in Buffalo, and you've always said the summer is basically Memorial Day to Labor Day. Right, and then but this has been unusually cool up there before Labor Day,
and you want to get out.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to get. I mean, it's like palatable. It's like the excitement of it's summer. Let's go.
Right.
And here it's like you get to July and it's like, okay, except for swimming in the pool and doing the lawn work, I'm staying in the house all day. This is sort of our winter. And now our winter. So now it's time for us. They're all going to be going back in here soon. We want to go out.
Now, we're going to be on vacation next week. Our friend Dan Mandis is going to be here for you throughout the week. Woo! Yeah, we love Dan Mandis. For those that listen on WTN, you're waking up to Dan Mandis every morning, and he is so great, and our audience loves him too. So you'll love him, and we'll be on vacation. Gosh, okay. So the GOP. What day do they come back? Is it Wednesday of next week? I forget what day it is, but you know they're going to hit the ground running. Normally when they come back from August vacation, it's like, okay, they're back, blah, 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 blah. But words like impeachment, inquiry, and all these things, everything is going to be back on the table. And there's no doubt they're going to hit the ground running with a number of things. Dan's going to have it covered, but the bad part for you and me is, being on vacation and not being able to be here and vent every night based on it.
I told you I've been so into the show lately. Not that I'm not always into it.
Yeah.
But it's just from the moment you wake up, it's like, what's in the news? What's in the news? What's in the news? What's in the news? And it's been so hot out. Where really all I've been doing the last couple of weeks, really the middle of August to the middle of September, I do all my housework. And I mean, this is where I steam clean the carpeting. I do everything. I mean, I go through drawers. I don't spend all day, but I'll go through one drawer a day. All right, clean this thing out, do whatever. It's my massive cleaning of the house. So most of the time I'm just paying attention to news.
Right.
As I told you over the weekend, I was thinking about, because I'm flying into Buffalo Friday and coming back on Monday, seeing Dad for a couple of days. And I'm thinking I have to work next Monday night. And all of a sudden I went, I'm on vacation all week.
Right.
Wow. What am I going to do?
You didn't plan the rest of the week.
I didn't even think about it. And I'm planning, like, okay, golf, but what am I going to do? It's like, because it's been so intense, but it's a good intensity. When I say intense, and when I say the life's dominated by what's going on, it's just the topics, and I live for that. You and I talk about it. Mm-hmm. It's the Super Bowl. To put it in perspective as a job that you do, because we get this from a lot of people. They'll say, it's got to be horrible to go in there every single day, and you got to pound on them every single day. No, it's absolutely wonderful.
It's the opposite.
It's the absolute most wonderful. It's playing the Super Bowl every single day. It's wonderful.
And the left has handed us so many gifts on a silver platter, and now they do it daily. In fact, I was thinking about this over the weekend because I was doing some show prep Saturday morning, late Friday night, and then again Saturday morning, and then, of course, Sunday. And as you're going through stories, it's creating an anxiety because it's like, okay, I'm ready. Oh, wait, it's not time yet. Okay, man, here. Okay.
You get that Friday night, Saturday morning, I do too.
Oh, my gosh. Friday's the worst. And I don't try and turn it off. I really don't like turning it off.
No.
Levin asked one time, hey, can you turn it off? Look at what Bill Clinton did to me, and showed us, his scar on his arm. But it was, it's one of those things where, okay, when you're on your personal time, enjoy your personal time. Our friend Larry O'Connor tweeted a picture of a really great traditional Irish breakfast. I didn't see where he was at, but, man, that plate looked fabulous. And that was Saturday morning, and I was like, oh, man, that's what I'm talking about. And I try and enjoy that time. My wife and I have a great time over the weekends.
And I do enjoy weekends.
Yeah.
And especially whether it gets nicer and I golf more,
but
I'll really enjoy it. But
as soon as the story hits, and my wife is very patient. She's actually not, it's not her patience. She's very involved. She wants to be talking about the things of, what does Biden think is going to happen if they do blah, blah, blah. And we have our own little talk show quite often. Because it's probably the only thing keeping me insane. She is in many ways, but that part of it also
keeping you sane,
keeping me
not insane.
Freudian slip. Oh, man. If anybody knows a good extended stay place for cheap, I might need the name.
When you said insane, I'm like, he's mentioned insane and his wife. Things are insane.
Totally
My wife
said
like,
insane.
No.
And, man, I almost said it. That was like deliberate sounding.
And not just insane. Keeping my life insane.
Keeping my life insane. She's definitely it. Oh, I'm going to pay for that in a while. Did I mention she also has insomnia? So here's the thing.
Oh, my gosh, that was great.
Oh, crap. Oh, it's going to be a long vacation. So here's the thing is that, it does. It kind of, you see these stories, you see these headlines, and each one of them now is so rich. It's one of the, man, I would encourage this for anybody who, and our audience is great about it. They do a ton of show prep of their own because we walk into messages. Oh man, can't wait for you guys to comment on this. I've got so many apps that are sending me alerts on stories, and it's not just the breaking news. And it may sound tedious, but when you get into those stories being sent to you, and you're all of a sudden you create your own little personal algorithm of what's going on, what, basically your interests are, you understand how interesting. I don't know why anybody reads fiction at all. Because if you just read the news, if you just read these stories and get into them, forget your book club. This is a better discussion than you'll ever have about anything. And it's real life and it's real things going on that affect our lives every single day. These are worthy discussions, which is why we love doing this. But you just absolutely have to stay on top of it. And when you do, in my opinion, it's highly enjoyable. I get a lot from it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on compliance, safety, accountability. Compliance, Safety, Accountability, or CSA, is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety and to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities on our roads. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers based on data collected during roadside inspections, crash reports, and FMCSA investigations. Based on the data that is compiled, motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked to determine intervention priority. Low scores are better, so carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. We are the doomed men southwest of Richmond. Here, as always. That's
Yeah, we're the middle class men of middle America.
Southwest of Richmond.
Southwest of Richmond, a few hours north of Austin.
I saw somebody with
east of Lubbock.
Somebody on social media pointed out, well, this is what's north of Richmond, and it's D.C.
Oh,
explain it to somebody. They actually had a map with a little circle and an arrow pointed up to D.C.
I know what we are. We're the two idiots east of Lubbock. That's what we are.
Okay, two idiots east of Lubbock. I like that better.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. This is really interesting because we talk about how to argue and how to debate, knowing that the left will try to twist or extrapolate everything you say into something that you did not say. This happened on CNN yesterday, Dana Bash with Ramaswamy. Okay, he was on, and Ramaswamy responded to Massachusetts Democratic Congresswoman Presley, part of the squad, when she attacked him and said, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice."
Wow.
Ramaswamy reportedly told Presley that her comments, quote, "are words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK." Now, we told you, for example, that Biden in the past has acted like a hate crime leader, like of the KKK or the white Aryan nations, when he said, for example, told a lie about the Georgia election law, that it was Jim Crow on steroids. And we said that's what hate crime leaders do. They tell a lie to separate people by race.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting here because Dana Bash then goes after Ramaswamy, not for his comments, but saying that, well, the KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of black peoples. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocities committed by the KKK? He never said she committed those crimes, Congresswoman Presley.
Right.
What he said was her words are the same. Her words are of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK.
Right.
He didn't say that they committed rape, and that's how she changed it. Let's listen back and forth. Understand how the left will, and that's where I mean they will extrapolate something you say into something you've never said, and then attempt you to defend her interpretation of something you didn't say. Wow. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Okay.
You took it to another level on Friday. In addition to the comment we played, you took issue with comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Presley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK." You know, I'm sure, the KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocities committed by the KKK?
Now, he didn't make those statements. She's asking him to defend
She's
something.
throwing in the other atrocities.
Right. She's asking him to defend something that he didn't say. It's her extrapolation of what she thinks he would have said if he would have been able to continue it, apparently, which he never said. He simply was focusing on the racist words of Presley.
Right.
The racist words. He never said she committed rape or killings. And so understand how the left will not only twist what you say, but they'll take what you say, add on to it, and ask you to defend what they've added on, which was not your opinion in the first place.
Right.
Here we go. Here's his response.
What I said is the Grand Wizards of the KKK would be proud of what they would hear her say, because there's nothing more racist than saying that your skin color predicts something about the content of your viewpoints
You didn't just say they would be proud. You said these are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK.
It is the same spirit. You're right about that, Dana. I think it is the same spirit to say that I can look at you and based on just your skin color, that I know something about the content of your character, that I know something about the content of the viewpoints you're allowed to express. For Ayanna Presley to tell me that because of my skin color, I can't express my view.
And she was trying to get back to, but they committed this. I didn't say she committed it. To be a racist, you don't have to commit rape.
Right.
You don't have to kill anybody.
He was talking about saying things.
Right.
Words.
And as he said, these are the words. Understand how desperate they are. to take what you believe and turn it into something else that you didn't even say. But I did like where he said, "You're right, Dana," to Judge. And we've said it many times before.
Right.
There is this is, if you want the evidence of the mainstream racism of the Democratic Party in their thoughts, in what they say, right there. We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. All blacks must think alike. All people of color must think alike. If you have a brown face, you have a brown voice, and it must all repeat the same. You are not autonomous.
We can have no disagreement.
Right.
None.
You are the modern-day Borg.
Exactly.
From Star Trek. One voice. No one is allowed to be autonomous. No one is allowed to think for themselves. No one is allowed an individual identity.
It is groupthink, period. Yep. And nothing else will be allowed.
And if you want evidence, right there it is, right there. We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. Everybody must think the same, and that's because, as we have said before, identity politics. They judge people by groups and not individuals.
Yep.
That's simple. And so I thought it was really interesting that she had to sit back and say, okay, how am I going to get Ramaswamy on this? Oh, okay, I'll talk about how they committed rapes. And well, I'm saying the words are just as bad.
He didn't bring in the actions of these people.
Right. The words are just, I didn't say, I didn't say that she raped anybody.
He didn't even come out and say in a generalized way that she's no different than these people in any way. He didn't say that. He was very specific about words, about what was being said.
Are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK.
The left has to lie in order to make a point.
Yep.
They have to make it up as they go along.
And thanks to our friend Kevin Tober, he actually wrote the article on that in
great job, Kevin.
In Newsbusters.
Yep.
And so, it's very important to break it down. It's very important to understand how desperate the left is, because they can't you can't argue the point that she was wrong for what she said, and what she said wasn't racist.
No.
Dana Bash on CNN can't argue that point. What she's arguing with Ramaswamy is something that he didn't say. He never said those things. He simply said, he responded to her words and said, those are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK. And you know something? That is an accurate statement.
It is accurate.
Because that's what they do. They judge people, racists judge people by groups and not as individuals and the content of their own character, as Ramaswamy said. But I just thought I had to play that because I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. So what you're going to say is that the other things that they did make it not so bad. So what's Dana Bash? I would have had fun. Well, I didn't say that. I didn't say that she committed rapes, murders of black people. I said her words are. Why? Do you believe her words are fine? Are you saying it's okay to be a racist, Dana, as long as you don't commit I would turn it right around on her.
Are you saying it's okay to judge by skin color?
Right. And you're saying it's okay to judge by skin color as long as you don't commit lynchings, rapes, murders?
Because if you're arguing against me, that's exactly what you're saying. Right. If you're saying all people of color must think alike, that's exactly what I'm arguing against. That's not what I stand for.
Wow. There is desperation and I think the reason we loved, and thank you, Kevin, again from Newsbusters for actually monitoring her and watching, and watching it is because, as we have stated over and over again, the left cannot defend anything that they believe. And there's another example right there.
Yep. Yeah, no, it is. It's a clear example. It is a clear example that they have to lie. And think about it. She had to bring in a monstrous lie of despicable behavior in order to make her point.
Right.
And why would she do that?
Well, the lie is that she's implying that Ramaswamy said that.
That's what I mean.
Right.
She had to lie about what he said.
Right.
And add to it despicable behavior. That was the lie. Well, he didn't say it was about the behavior. He said it was about the words.
Right.
Why did she have to bring the behavior part into it, which is a complete fabrication, because she couldn't win the debate otherwise? Because if they were going to talk about the actual issue at hand, it would be about judging people, about how they think based on their skin color. She was dodging.
And it's funny because she says, I'm sure the KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocity committed by the KKK? He didn't bring up those views and make the comparison.
No.
He never did that. So she's asking him to explain something that he never did and never thought.
He was talking words.
Right. He was talking words.
And she couldn't debate.
Right.
So you have to make up a lie.
Interesting the way that you think about the propaganda in that question alone.
Yeah.
In order to get to it, she makes a case of something he didn't say and then sets the premise for what his views are compared to the murders of the KKK, which wasn't even the topic of discussion.
Right.
Wow. And they think they're sophisticated at doing it. That's why we're here, to tear this all apart each and every day.
I mean,
to tear it all apart.
She actually thought she was going to win that.
I know.
Wow.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, Fed Chair Powell over the weekend said inflation too high and warns that we are prepared to raise rates further.
Well, it's interesting because I saw an article over the weekend, and it was something to the effect of, despite what Powell says or may imply, he could well be done. And the question is, when will the cuts begin? And I thought, whoa, hold the fort. Cuts? Well, we're not going to see that. Look, interest rates, mortgage rates going up again. And that's, again, by design. And you're seeing this situation where now we've still got the prices of things are still high. The rate of inflation has dropped. But it's still, prices are higher, going up on the average, higher than they were last year with record inflation and all this stuff that, people already know because they're paying for it. And you still also have the cost of borrowing money, buying a car, what did we say on the used cars? It was like 13%.
Yeah, 13.5%. The average interest rate being paid on cars, used cars. Yeah.
That's insane.
As of last week, 13.5%.
And now the average 30-year, well over 7% now, and could be on its way to 7.5% or maybe 8% at some point, depending on how far the Fed goes. And I don't know, talking cuts, what are you going to do? Because there are very few analysts that are even talking recession. I think you'd have to get deep into recession territory before you talked about making any interest rate cuts.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.